Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to be talking about Germany and specifically their policy of streaming students into different types of school for secondary school. So Germany has a very fragmented education system, and one of the key characteristics of it is that at about the age of 8, children are selected for 3 types of secondary school. The first of these is the gymnasium, which is basically like an academic high school, which prepares students for higher education, for going to university. The second is a Realschule, which is like a middle school, but not in the American sense. It's middle in the sense that it's not quite the gymnasium, and it's not quite the lowest school either. So generally, it prepares students to go to specialist colleges after school. Typical graduates of the Realschule system will go on to do things like be bank clerks or work in like specialized factories building high-tech machinery, for example. Not quite the level of university, but then also still quite a skilled job. That's what the Realschule is designed to do. And finally, there is the Hauptschule, which can be translated as the main school, but is also the school for the lowest performing students. And the Hauptschule emphasizes practical skills and is often considered a school for the rest, with the goal basically to prepare students to go on to vocational training in menial jobs or otherwise prepare students for going into on-the-job training in low-skilled work. So, to summarize, Germany's education system is characterized by this streaming of students into different schools by their ability. And what that means is that under the German system, children as young as 10 years old might already have a relatively good idea of what kind of an academic or professional trajectory they might be on. Germany is famous for that made in Germany label, for quality about some of the products that it exports. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that jobs such as tradesmen or craftsmen are quite highly esteemed. And one of the reasons for this is because the people who do those jobs are streamed into them from an early age by this school system. However, the streaming system has a lot of problems. And indeed, in the year 2000, Germany was ranked really poorly in a OECD study of the world's education systems. And what was particularly problematic was that it scored really poorly on equity, which basically meant that poor people tended to do really badly at school and rich people tend to do really well at school, which in a social democracy like Germany was obviously a really, really big problem. Another major disadvantage was the fact that lots of migrants were being disadvantaged by the system. And this was basically because lots of them had language barriers. So if you were a Turkish immigrant or from a Turkish immigrant family and your German was weak, then you would automatically be sorted into the lowest school. Then this would result in migrants having worse jobs and worse prospects throughout the rest of their lives, which would then have a knock-on effect on migrant communities. So it was in response to this that the German government, since the year 2000, started lots of reforms, and lots of them basically didn't abolish the streaming system, but they certainly smoothed it out and made it more inclusive of weaker students. So lots of Hauptschulen were closed or were combined with Realschulen to make what are called Gesamtschulen, which are basically like complete schools, so a school where all students of all levels are taught. And this was done in recognition of the fact that weaker learners were being stigmatized by that system. And the results have been very positive. So Germany's educational ranking rose quite a lot after these reforms were introduced. So Germany has had the streaming system for a long time, but it's changed, and now it doesn't stream as aggressively. And it has some pros in that it effectively sorts society into those who do advanced study and those who do menial work and those who do something in between from an early age, which, depending on your views of what the education system is for, then you could argue that that's a good thing, that society needs certain types of people and certain types of jobs, and the education system in Germany in the streaming system is from the outset designed to do that. On the other hand, of course, there are many weaknesses, and one of the main ones being that the people who don't tend to have as many opportunities to demonstrate that they're going to be good students at a young age tend to be poor students, or students with a background of migration, so people who've come from outside Germany. And as a result, they become disadvantaged, and then that produces a more unfair society in other ways. I haven't actually taught at a German school, and I didn't go to a German school. I went to an international school when I was young. So I'm not sure how the schools are affected by this policy. But I suppose it can be related to the ways in which any school often looks to stream its classes. So some schools will, for example, will break up classes into smaller groups with the advanced students or another group for the very weak students. And then that obviously has pros and cons. It can be very beneficial for stronger learners who need extra time or need different types of resources, but it can also be very stigmatizing for the weaker learners. And it's a question of what kind of results you want, because you're always trading something off. Yes, you'll have better, stronger students, but then you'll have weaker, poor students, and vice versa. So thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do leave a comment if you've got a question or some other feedback. Thank you.